Gino asked me this question. Gino said, what kind of problems arose inside the C.E. Smith Museum of Anthropology during the first year that it was open to the public? That's a really good question. I have kind of a funny answer. Bear with me. The museum opened in late February 1975. Smitty had passed January 31st, so he'd been gone for about 3 weeks when we finally got the museum open. I was a teaching assistant or a grad assistant or a student. I think it's called a student assistant. That's what I was. I was a student assistant working in the office at the anthropology department at Cal State Hayward at the time. And another student, a grad student, Benjamin Ananian, who's now gone, Ben was another student assistant. So we were already on the books. So someone had to sit in the museum once we opened it up to kind of provide security, to talk to the people coming in, answer questions, and just sort of be present. So the department asked Ben and I to work in the museum. So essentially we became the first two unofficial, I guess, employees of the museum. And our job was to sit in there. We had a couple of chairs in the corner. And in the beginning, not too many people came in. Students would walk in to see what was going on. That was about it. But our job was to sit in there. And the museum was open like 1 to 5 or 1 to 4. So it was afternoon, a few hours straight. And I can't remember if it was every day or every other day, but we were in there. So what was the funny thing that happened? Well, the night before the museum opened, or several days before it opened, the anthro department had a contractor come in and place cork on one of the walls. One of the large walls of this classroom was completely covered with corkboard. And if you've ever seen photos of the early museum, we often had exhibits that had photographs and they were tacked to this corkboard. That first exhibit, I think, was on the history of the Portuguese American community in Hayward. So there were a lot of photographs tacked to this corkboard. So they needed corkboard. So a contractor came in after hours and glued the corkboard to the wall. And the important word here is they glued the corkboard to the wall and locked the room up. The next day we opened it briefly for this dedication, closed it up again, and then the next day we opened it at 1 o'clock, and Ben and I had to sit in there and watch the museum. After about 30 minutes of sitting in there, we started giggling. It was really kind of odd. We were not necessarily telling funny jokes, we just started giggling. And the longer we were in there, the more we started laughing and feeling kind of goofy. And fortunately, I think it was our secretary, anthro secretary at the time, came in there, went, smelled the glue, and realized that Ben and I were under the effect. And so suggested that we leave the room, and we aired it out. And for days and days, you could still get a heavy smell of the glue in there, but eventually it dissipated. But that first day, it was something else. And it's a good thing that we didn't have the public in there at that time in big numbers, or we'd all been laughing and giggling and probably doing a little brain damage.